This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. Reaper Apparel Company, a commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information. Nothing better than some Tuesday night, late night sports talk on this first C2C program, I believe, for the month of June here on this Tuesday evening, June the 4th, 2024. It is another live edition of Coast to Coast at Night, better known as C2C at Night, here to recap the day that was in sports and have a good old time on a Tuesday alongside that man, James Gonzales, yours truly, Callan McClurg. Both of us in San Diego, California. James up in Oceanside and Callan McClurg here in the city. Mr. Gonzales, glad to be back on the air. Got a great show lined up for the late night audience on this Tuesday. How's it going, man? Good to see you as always, and thanks for being here.
Man, I thought 10:30, but I was duly mistaken. I just got out of the shower and then hopped right on. I worked like 13 hours today. I'm like really, really tired, and I gotta get up early again. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and again, folks, we'll be having a pretty nice show here again. Plenty of great topics to discuss here on this Tuesday night. Again, Coast to Coast at Night with Callan McClurg and James Gonzales. Folks, one quick, small little nugget for you again, as you probably, folks, saw on Saturday, but you folks can now catch my sit-down interview with the Elite Draft League's founder, Josh Fontaine, from our league tryout day back on May 25th. It's available now on the Coast to Coast Facebook page and YouTube channels. Again, the Puck and Roll podcast coming your way later this month as we, in fact, get ready to kick off a brand new roller hockey season and a brand new league here in San Diego coming up in roughly 2 weeks' time on June 22nd. But again, you can catch my interview with Josh Fontaine, our league founder, again on the Coast to Coast Facebook and YouTube channels. Again, that is at for your listening interest in about 10-minute brief interview that we did after tryouts on May 25th. But of course, folks, if you're up late with us here on C2C United, again, we invite your input. As always, questions, comments, concerns, hot takes, cold takes, you name it, we will take them all here on this Tuesday night. Well, James, we'll start things off, my man, in Major League Baseball. And for the third time, my friend, in the last couple of months, we are again entrenched with gambling issues in Major League Baseball. But the hammer, James, comes down in a huge way by the commissioner's office as injured Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano, along with 4 or 5 other minor league players, are all given the boot for at least a year. But in Marcano's case, he got the hammer for the first time since Pete Rose, and even before that, 100 years ago with Jimmy O'Connell of the New York Giants, a Major League Baseball player, James, has been banned for life for wagering on the sport. There is a laundry list to get to in this entire story. And like I said, though, James, for the third time, my man, in the last 2 to 3 months, we are sitting here on C2C at Night, my friend, talking about the dreaded G word, that is gambling involved in Major League Baseball. But James, more than anything else, though, man, this also comes on the day that IP Mizuhara, the longtime former interpreter for Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani, pleads guilty to both tax and bank fraud charges earlier today. He will be sentenced, per reports, in late October to what could be a 33-year prison sentence. But James, this story, though, man, kind of in a way led me down the rabbit hole when I was thinking about when we talked about David Fletcher's involvement in a potential gambling scandal. A guy on the injured list having all that time to himself goes down and makes obviously a career-ending mistake in Tucupita Marcano's case. But also, though, James, the other players involved, though, all guys who wagered in the minor leagues, some guys wagered on their teams, some guys wagered on game outcomes, strikeout totals, over unders. But all these guys, though, James, were like in single A or double A. And I believe the one pitcher from the Athletics, Michael Kelly, was in the Astros farm system in AAA Sugarland, Texas, when he was making his wagers. Some guys had parlays on the College World Series or on college baseball games. So, James, just when you think this is going away, my friend, two gambling issues happen on the same day. Mizuhara officially sentenced to his sentence for the bank fraud charges in the IRS and tax fraud case. But also, though, James, the rumblings, though, of this Marcano story, though, James, broke literally Monday night while me and my parents and my brother and niece were at the Padre Angel game at Angel Stadium on Monday. That came out while we were on our way and stuck in traffic in Tustin on the Interstate 5 going up north to the ballpark. Then, obviously, this morning, the commissioner's office hands down the punishment to Marcano. Again, lifetime ban for him wagering on at least 20-plus games when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. But like I said, though, James, trying to find a way to keep himself involved with the game because at the time, he was on the Pirates Major League roster and was also rehabbing and getting over the torn ACL. So, James, why is all I have to ask.
Yeah, players get bored or they want to make some extra money. Maybe the minor leagues wasn't given as much as they do now. Remember the story about the minor leaguers finally getting, actual benefits and all that. That's all I can think of. And Marcano being banned for life. He's only 24 years old, I think, or 25.
He played 3 major league seasons.
Yeah, I think for the Pirates last year, vaguely. Mm-hmm. I just think he was trying to get extra money. And the funny thing is, I think he only won like $150K, but he bet so much more and lost. So it's amazing to think like how much he put out there, just knowing that he can't do this. And again, it reminds me of Calvin Ridley in football, where he was injured, but he had the inside scoop on who would play, who looks good in practice. So it reminds me of that. And for Marcano to do this, it's really timely as well. With the Mizuhara sentencing, it's almost like the MLB. I think they put this news out on purpose for this night to make you forget about the Ohtani betting scandal and all that, and make sure to have actual players, in the league or in the minors, wherever, out there, just to have a smoke screen of, Ohtani, just forget about it. It was just fraud. He was a victim, even though he knew what the hell was going on allegedly. Let's forget about it. Focus on this and how bad this is. Come on over. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. This is what it feels like. And I think it would have been even a bigger story if it was, brand name players. I'm not saying that Sal Frank wasn't with the Diamondbacks. I do remember him. I believe he was a reliever, I want to say.
Yes.
Last year, I think, of the Diamondbacks when they won the National League.
I think, James, real quick, that all the players, I believe, in the minors, Jay Groom and Michael Kelly, Jose Rodriguez, and then Andrew Saalfrank, 3 of the 4 players who were caught in this minor league operation, they were all pitchers.
And Jay Groom, I'm reading here, was a former Red Sox prospect, top one, and now he's in the Padres system. So it's funny how somehow the Padres are linked all the way through this, even though Marcano, it was when he was with the Pirates, and then Groom when he was with the Red Sox in their minor league system. And Michael Kelly, I never really heard of him, but he placed 10 bets on MLB games in October 21, so in the playoffs there, probably. While he was a member of the Astros, like you mentioned. And then Jose Rodriguez, you mentioned the college baseball games. He put 3 bets on that, but 28 bets on MLB games. It's like an addiction. You're like, hey, I'm never gonna get caught. I'll change my name. I'll change my profile. I'll delete my profile. They're never gonna know. I'm gonna get away with this. Nope. The FBI, they're thorough on these type of things, and to see it hit South Frank, that's gonna kind of hurt the Diamondbacks there. But to me, it just feels like a smokescreen for Epi and the Otani situation. It's a real timely issue. I don't know if I hope it doesn't become a long, prolonged thing where we have more players getting caught, betting. And I think it's kind of a warning, the lifetime ban for Marcano, where, if you really want to play and if you want to live out your dream to make the majors, if you're in the minors, I know you're struggling. I know you're trying to make money and all that, but you got to stay straight. You cannot veer off the path of, doing what's right. So that's my message about that.
Yeah, James, and sadly, man, I think that, kind of pun intended here, but I think this story has more legs than what we probably would speculate. Now, again, this is totally separate right now from what has gone down with the IP Mizuhara and Shohei Ohtani fiasco. But again, though, big game, James, this is the third time, though, man, that we're sitting on a coast-to-coast program talking about gambling coming to limelight in Major League Baseball. But as you said, though, man, that's why I said bingo. This is all smoke and mirrors to get our attention off of the fact that IP Mizuhara was booked today, pled guilty to both tax and bank fraud. He'll be sentenced to probably a 33-year prison sentence in late October with this distraction of a fringe major leaguer who was, rehabbing a ripped ACL in the Pirates organization on top of this group of 4 minor league players, Michael Kelly, Jay Groom, Jose Rodriguez, along with Andrew Saalfrank, who all wagered in some capacity in the minors. They only got 1-year bans, but Marcano got the lifetime sentence for his wagering antics. And yes, Christy, that she's right though. She says, I believe this is the first time since Pete Rose that someone got the lifetime ban from baseball. First known time it's happened since Pete Rose, and second known time since Jimmy O'Connell, who played for the New York Giants way back 100 years ago, who also got suspended for life for wagering on baseball. And I think, though, James, that I don't know what else the league can do right now. I mean, they are really right now stuck in they're stuck right now in neutral in a major way. Okay, Ohtani, Mizuhara, that's one thing. Then we talked, though, I think, James, in late May, we talked here about the fact of David Fletcher, a known Angel teammate of Ohtani, also in a way beat up, banged up, chewed up, and spit out during his time in Anaheim with injuries. Per reports, had wagered as well, gave a friend of his, Colby Schultz, in the Royals organization, the inside information, which I think also has a lot of bearing on the sentencing of Marcano, or maybe even the suspensions of the minor league players, though, that they could have gotten tipped off, though, on something that was going on, though, across, this game or that game. And now we have today, though, James, like I said, though, this is a smokescreen or like a curtain, like, hey, don't worry about what's going on with these two guys with the Dodgers. Only worry about this, fringe 3-year major leaguer and these guys that no one's heard of in the minor leagues. This is a very bad double-edged sword and very bad double standard, I feel like, though, being done by Major League Baseball. And Christy Wilson further agrees that the league, that being Major League Baseball, has a big problem when it comes to gambling. And I think, though, James, there's going to be more coming, man. And I know that you probably agree with me. You hate to have a season be marred by controversy like this. James, we're already dealing with controversy as is in the WNBA season right now, which we're not going to get into tonight because that is a whole nother can of worms right now. Even though I've said, though, that, publicity for a league is always good, though. But right now, though, the negative pub is outweighing the good pub right now in both baseball and in the WNBA right now at this rate. But James, I don't know where baseball goes right now, man, because I think if there's a fourth story that breaks sometime later this month, sometime in July by the All-Star break, there may have to be like a very, very very like urgent, not necessarily slap on the wrist, James, a very urgent meeting in New York during the All-Star break about what in the world do we do with our gambling partnerships right now in Major League
Mhm.
Baseball. And I think that has to come to a head sooner than later.
They're not going to give up that money though. Any of these sports leagues, they're in
Oh, I'm
it for
aware
the
they're not
long
going to, but you
haul.
would think though, just for the fact of where we're at right now, and also James, like we said though, you can't gamble in all 50 states. You and I know damn well we can't legally wager in California.
Hmm.
Texas, Texas, you can't even wager there till at least next year if they're lucky.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, and I was reading more about Marcano, and then he bet $87,319 and who knows how many cents on large parlays, multiple sport parlays, part of the MLB games. Um, yeah, rehabbing that knee injury. Averaging $378 per bet too. So he was putting
Ooh.
his check money from the minor leagues toward that. So definitely all in, and now he's all out. It's amazing to see the risk that people take, because we've seen it with HGH and steroids, and there's that 50 game ban, 80 game ban, and lifetime, I think.
Yes.
And we haven't got there yet, because I think finally, the players have kind of wised up and said, okay, I can't get to 2 strikes because I really want to make
Have
it.
they really wised up though? I don't know if we're quite there yet, sadly.
No, I mean, like, we haven't really heard anybody. I don't think there's anybody that got banned for life though for HGH. I guess that's what I'm meaning. Like, it hasn't got to that point yet. But you're talking about, if the league has to get in there and possibly ban players from doing it, I think that's going to be or be the players having anyone around it. They're going to have to do that if not already. Yeah, it's going to be a lingering issue. That's all I know.
Yeah, no, I agree, James. And I think you and I both agree that this is a lingering issue for baseball as the year prolongs. Again, we've had the issues in March, Otani and Mizuhara. Then by April and May, it was David Fletcher and Colby Schultz. The inside information, Fletcher and his wagering, Schultz admitting to ESPN.com. I placed wagers on baseball games while I was in the Royals organization. Now, James, here into June, we have a lifetime ban issued for Tucupita Marcano, former Padre and Pirate, but again, only played a spattering of about 2 to 3 years in the majors, and again, was rehabbing a ripped ACL, and again, had a lot of that free time, though. But also, I think, though, James, what's more troubling is it's the minor league talent who's now being affected again, with the likes of Michael Kelly with Oakland, Jay Groom with San Diego, though a lot of these guys were doing it, though, with different organizations. Like we were talking about Jay Groom, who was a top Red Sox prospect. Now he's in San Diego with the Padres, I believe, in Double-A right now in San Antonio. Then you go to, Andrew Saalfrank, who also made, had some big league time, but his wagers were made in Single-A Visalia, California, where, again, you cannot legally, vote or legally gamble, I should say, out here in our home state of California. So, again, folks, we'll keep an eye on what else maybe develops. But once more, Tucupita Marcano, first known player since both Pete Rose in 1924, Giants outfielder Jimmy O'Connell, to be banned for life from baseball for wagering on the game, with at least 4 other minor league players also banned or suspended for a full year due to wagering on baseball, but not wagering on the respective club that they were representing at the time in their minor league in the minor league organizations. With that in mind, James, we'll go to the NFL, buddy, and a couple of guys got paid. One guy is waiting to get paid. That, of course, is Justin Jefferson, who got paid by the Vikings a walloping $180 million plus contract. And earlier today, Christian McCaffrey on Tuesday got a 2-year, roughly $20 million extension, and CeeDee Lamb misses day one of the mandatory veteran camp for the Cowboys, seeking an extension. So, James, out of the three notable players who either got paid or now waiting to get paid, Which one sticks out more in your mind, though? Justin Jefferson with Minnesota, CMC in San Fran, or CeeDee Lamb holding out in Dallas?
Okay, so with CD Lamb, it just feels like he knows Jerry has money. He knows how to get the money out of Jerry, so that's why he's holding out. And if he's really worth it, they'll pay it. So that's how I feel about that, because that's going to happen eventually, but it's going to be a drag out. Jerry versus his players. He treats it, like a suit or something. He treats it, and that's going to eventually happen, but it's going to get ugly. You might hear some trade rumors. Look out for that. Sorry, Christy. But I think I'm more, because we knew Justin Jefferson was going to get his $35 million. I think yearly is going to be the salary for him, and it's going to break every NFL pay scale other from the quarterback spot.
I was going to say, doesn't that? I think that deal made him the highest paid non-quarterback, I believe, now by average annual value, or AAV.
Because it's a $140 million contract, the top paid contract ever that's non quarterback, and then it's over 4 years. And the good thing about it's $110 million guaranteed, so that's great for Jefferson. It doesn't guarantee that he's going to stay in Minnesota. I think every trade deadline or every off season, the rumors are going to be there before the draft. And you look at who they have at quarterback now, Sam Darnold. I remember him and Kirk Cousins at first didn't get along in that COVID season because Kurt wouldn't find him over the middle, and he would do everything to get open. And then Kurt found him. Kurt got hurt last year. Now Kurt's gone. So that's really unfortunate. He's going to really have to ball out because Darnold can't throw it like Kirk Cousins. So look out maybe for a trade and by the deadline, week 8. So yeah, I mentioned CeeDee Lamb, but I think the most impactful move was Christian McCaffrey's today, because it impacted the salary cap for the Niners this season. It created $7.4 million on cap space just in case the Niners need to go get another defensive lineman. If they trade one of their receivers, which has been in the news the last, since the Super Bowl, when it was Samuel and I think it was Ayuk, I want to say. Mm-hmm. But that's always been a rumor. Like one of those are eventually going to go to Steelers, or one of those are going to go to the Broncos. So that can make room for someone who's unhappy somewhere else. You just never know. And McCaffrey being one of the best at his position, and maybe the best at running back in the league, just because he's a dual threat. I just think that's a big deal, because the Niners now hold an estimated $32 million of the top 51 room. So I think that's a really good thing for the Niners. Like I said, just in case they can go out and spend. And remember, the salary cap went up here in the offseason, and they rank now 7th. So they can go out and, usually that's reserved for like the bad teams like the Raiders and Jaguars, Patriots, Commanders, but now the Niners are there and they can make some moves. So sacrifice, I would never tell a player to sacrifice money, but McCaffrey did that for the greater good. They know they're close to a Super Bowl. They know that any of these years may be the last year that they could really, really be a Super Bowl contender. You just never know. You really never know. And that goes for any sport. When you're together for so long, it starts to break up. So I think there's really a urgency in San Francisco with the Niners. And this just helps them out, and it hurts the rest of the NFC.
I would go with McCaffrey re-signing, as you said, kind of almost team-friendly, frees up some more cap space. But I also think, though, that McCaffrey had a resurgence last season. I mean,
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
what really got into him, though, but I think that trade, though, of him going from Carolina, very, rough time for him playing back with the Panthers. I think we only remember James McCaffrey in Carolina with the first aid logo by his name on Wikipedia because he was always injured. But he goes to San Fran, again, familiar territory, playing at Stanford, and he had like a resurgence of his career. But my main concern, though, is that he actually still be healthy. I think that's always the concern, though, with a running back, especially with how the game has gone full blown, run game practically. It feels like more than it's been a passing game. So that I think is the most impactful signing. I think, though, with the Vikings keeping Jefferson in the fold, though, I get where they're coming from, though, but I also think that maybe with the fresh start at quarterback, with either McCarthy starting, maybe Darnold starting, who knows, that maybe can keep him somewhat, I guess, appeased or happy if it boils down to touches per game and all that. And I think, though, James, the CeeDee Lamb thing, when is there never a off season or a season that goes by, James, there's not at least one guy holding out for money?
And it's always a Cowboy too. You had that with Dak Prescott last year. He got a good deal just for 1 year, and now he's a free agent. So he's got to ball out. He's probably gonna beg Lamb to get in there and hey, help me out. We'll both get paid. That's the feeling. But yeah, I expected to go all the way until September. I really expect this for CeeDee Lamb. He'll never play in preseason, but I think this will be a long issue. But I think eventually it'll get done. I don't think he'll miss games like Emmitt Smith did in 1993, where he missed the first two, and then Jerry said, "No, we got to get him in. This is embarrassing." I don't think that's going to happen. I think Jerry has learned his lesson from Emmitt Smith, even though it's like 31 years ago. Yikes. But I think eventually that deal will get done. But you got to be careful, though. I know everybody knows that the salary cap has went up, but it's only for one player. And then you have to pay Dak. And then you have to figure out the running back situation. So there's a lot of holes for the Cowboys, and this is just one of them where I don't know if there's a long-term solution with Dak and Lamb. Definitely not Ezekiel Elliott coming back.
And in a very somewhat winnable but still tough division. Again, Philadelphia, we know that the wheels came off at the very end last season. The Giants went through 4 or 5 different quarterbacks. Washington's Washington, then of course Dallas is Dallas, sadly, but certainly. Once again, folks, 3 big moves in the NFL, 2 signings, 1 holdout right now. Again, CeeDee Lamb holding out for a potential extension in Dallas. Justin Jefferson paid by the Vikings, and as was Christian McCaffrey after his somewhat, again, career resurgence in Santa Clara, California last season with the 49ers last year. With that, James, on to the hardwood, my friend, into the NBA Finals we go at long last. Should be a good series, my man. The number 1 seed Boston Celtics from the Eastern Conference take on the 5 seed Western Conference champion Dallas Mavericks, who upended the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals, while the Celtics easily breezed by the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. James, Tatum and Brown versus Luka and also Kyrie Irving. However, though, the wild card in this whole fray, big game, James, Kristaps Porzingis ruled active and ready to play in game 1 of the finals after missing the entire postseason with a leg injury. So, James, we have Boston looking for title number 18 in club history. The Mavericks looking for their second one and their first one since 2011. Of course, their head coach, Jason Kidd, was on that 2011 team that took down the big 3 of the Miami Heat in that final series. James, what do you think about this series, man, and who do you got?
I actually love this matchup. You have
intriguing
revenge factors for Porzingis toward Dallas. And then Kyrie hates Boston, Boston hates Kyrie. So that's fun. Hopefully nothing bad happens, but
Let's hope not.
hopefully it's just not a distraction. But Kyrie loves to, I don't know, he's very sensitive when it comes to the crowd, and then he gives it back like nothing happened. So I expect something to happen in that game one. I actually think Dallas will steal game one. I just have that feeling in my head where Boston, they've had, 9 days off till the game tomorrow. I'm sorry, Thursday. So they've had a long time off. And I know Dallas has had, they're going to have a week off, or almost a week off. But I think, Boston's going to have a hard time trying to figure out, how to stop Kyrie and then also stop Luka at the same time. So maybe they'll be a little sluggish. Maybe, their threes won't go in. It's literally a make or miss league with the Celtics. When their threes go in, they score 130 or plus. But when their threes miss, it's like 105, 110, and they have lapses. But I think eventually they get game two and then off to Dallas. But yeah, I wonder how much Porzingis. Man, I wonder how much he has. Because remember, he got hurt, I think, in game 3 of the first round in Miami. He hasn't been back since.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing that injury. I'm thinking, well, that doesn't look too bad, but it was definitely bad. Yeah, he says he's ready to go. He's not sure if he's 100% too. So that kind of scares me, though. And a lot of people are saying if Porzingis isn't playing, you give the edge to Dallas. The intriguing thing for me is, as well, you have Boston where you have all these defenders. You have Drew Holiday, who you could put on Kyrie. You have Derek White, who maybe could guard Luka, or you put Tatum on Luka or Jaylen Brown on Luka for more height advantage. But Luka, as slow as he is, he somehow is able to percolate and make his shots step back or driving in, whatever the case is. Maxi Kleber will be back. He played in that last game for the Mavs, but he really wasn't a factor. And I think he's going to be sluggish along with Porzingis. I don't expect Kleber to be anything special in this series. It's going to come down to the stars of this series. Tatum, if he could have, 30, 40 plus. If Jaylen Brown can be that Robin to Batman, scoring 30 or more, then I think they'll win. But when it comes down to Dallas, Kyrie has kind of deflected toward Luka in some spots late, which has been nice. Kyrie has been in the past has been a real tough teammate to be around. Just ask all of his Cleveland teammates, Boston teammates, Brooklyn teammates. They'll all tell you. KD will tell you. James Harden will tell you. LeBron and I know they had a beef in even when they won the championship in 2016. All that being said, man, it's almost like an even matchup to me. It all comes down to Porzingis if he plays. If not, I have a fear if he doesn't play 5 of the series of the games, 5 games of the series, I think the Celtics lose. I just think Dallas, they've been on this run ever since they made those trade acquisitions, PJ Washington and Gafford from the Hornets and the Wizards. I'm gonna say Mavs. I'm gonna say Mavs in 7. I really believe it. I believe in what they're doing. Their path has been tougher. The Celtics. Somebody put this out there. I know injuries are part of the game, but you think about what the Celtics have kind of been through this postseason. I know they had an injury with Porzingis, but they kind of had it easy where
Miami without
Butler.
Butler.
The Knicks were all banged up.
Knicks were beat up. Milwaukee was also beat up.
Yeah, Halliburton was gone from games 3 and 4 of the Celtics series. So yeah, the East, it's been an easier path. So maybe they really haven't been challenged yet. And how will they step up? This is the crowning factor for both, Tatum and Brown, and then Luka. And then it's a kind of thing. You know what this reminds me of for Kyrie? It's like, can Kobe win without Shaq? When he went to those
can
three
Kyrie
finals?
Win without LeBron?
Yeah, can Kyrie win without LeBron? We'll see. I think that's going to happen, though. I'm going to say Mavs in 7.
James is going Mavs in 7, so I'll probably take the flip side and go with the Celtics winning in 6, honestly. Again, James, it goes back to what I said, though, I think when we were last on here talking about the conference finals, is that if there's ever a time for the Celtics, this feels like the time. Mm-hmm. Tatum and Brown have been together for a long time. They've had to endure their own sort of criticism from the national media. You got to trade these guys. They can't play together, and things like that. But I love your point, though, about this Dallas team, though, with Luka and Kyrie, that this will probably be the Celtics' toughest challenge because, again, Miami without Butler, Knicks were beat up, banged up, chewed up, and spit out in round 2. Then, of course, the Pacers had their own issues of not knowing to call timeouts and then backcourt, turnovers. And, again, young team learning how to win, though. I still really think, though, that this is the Celtics' year to finally get over that hump, though, because they've gotten so close with this group, and they've lost in round 1, round 2, conference finals, losing in the losing in the finals to Golden State like 2 or 3 years ago, like the last big run that the Warriors went on. So I'll go Celtics in 6, though, because I kind of feel like, though, even if Porzingis is not in here, I think that Tatum and Brown and some of the guys off that bench can really, I think, keep Dallas at bay, though, and also with how we have seen the Celtics defense kind of play a bit, though, too. If they can force Luka and Kyrie into bad shot selection, that could really, I think, also, in a way, turn this series over. But I think, though, James, you're right, though. I kind of do feel like, though, that Dallas steals game 1. If not, they will steal at least one game in Boston in the first 2 games. I do agree with you on that 100%.
Yeah, I can't wait for that to happen, for this series to go on. I think we got the best 2 at this time, or at least the hottest versus the most dominant. And you just see how these powers collide. So again, I just love the revenge factors for both teams as well. But mostly, I'm going to be looking forward as well to the X factors off of the benches for both teams. Will Peyton Pritchard make some threes? Will PJ Washington Jr. have an impact like he's had an impact? All these things and more. I just can't wait for it.
James, kind of like, and I know you hate these questions, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Who needs this championship more? The Boston Celtics to break that tie with the Los Angeles Lakers because of the guys they have, again, with, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, who've been kind of, together since they were rookies. Al Horford, going on 38, 39, 40 years old, never has gotten to the finals or never has won a title. Or is it this Dallas team looking for their second one in franchise history and looking to become the first team per Front Office Sports since the 1994 Rockets to win the title under new ownership? Because we know that Mark Cuban sold off a majority of his stake to the Adelson family, who runs the some casinos in Las Vegas. So, James, who needs it more? The Celtics to break that, historical tie with the Lakers, or this, kind of in a way, up and coming, fun to watch Dallas ball club looking for their second title in 13, 14 seasons?
You look at both where, okay, for the Celtics fans and the Laker fans, they look at this as they need it for that reason. But for me, it's because, Tatum Brown went to the finals already and lost.
Correct.
But with Luka, it's like, he'll have another shot at this, you would think. He's already been to the conference finals. So I don't think not as much pressure is put on them just because
more pressure in your mind is on Boston.
Oh yeah, I think Boston needs it more just because of the Tatum and Brown factor. You mentioned, I always remember Charles Barkley 2-3 years ago. Hey, they got to break this up. Ernie, I just don't think this is going to work out. And it's just funny how they added. They kept adding pieces. They brought Al Horford back, and I think just for him, I think they really want, him to get it before he leaves. But yeah, I think Luka's going to have another shot at it. Kyrie, wherever he goes in the future, will have another shot at it. But I think just for not even Celtic pride, not even for 18 or whatever, just for validation, just for Tatum, especially just for Tatum. I think Brown already got his validation winning the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, he was hugging that trophy like crazy, like it was the NBA Finals trophy. But yeah, I think it's more pressure on Tatum, just on Tatum, because he's the one, like, everybody wants the crown, but they can't yet. They're everybody wants to reach out that hand, but you haven't won yet, and I don't know if you ever will. You're getting older, so I think Luka has more time. So I'm gonna say Tatum and the Celtics have more pressure on them.
I absolutely agree, and I think it's the historical perspective of the two pillar organizations of the NBA, the Boston Celtics and the Lakers, being tied at 17 championships for the last several since the 2020 season came and went with the bubble year. But again, though, I think, James, you're right though about Luka may have 1, 2, 3 more so many more chances again with him being so young still, but like. The Celtics, Tatum and Brown, break up that group of players. I definitely agree with you that the Celtics have more of a onus, I think, or the pressure is all on them. Shouting out our go-to guy, Jack Braun, who says hello, and then he says, ha, ha, ha. Hey, Cal, is that Snoopy wearing sunglasses on the shirt you're wearing? Truly summer vibes activated. It actually is, Jack. It's actually Snoopy doing a mic drop, and it even has like a definition of what a mic drop actually means, and it's fitting because I have the shirt because I work in sports announcing have been for soon to be 16 years coming up here in the next season. But yes, it is Snoopy's one of my all-time favorite cartoon characters of all time, so that's why I got the shirt. Within a mind, James, from the hardwood to the ice, the Stanley Cup Finals will kick off on Saturday. This should be a all-out grudge match and a good one. It's the Western Conference champion Edmonton Oilers back in the mix for a Stanley Cup for the first time in roughly 30-plus years, while it's the Florida Panthers who are repeating as Eastern Conference champs. They knock out the number 1 seed in the President's Trophy winning New York Rangers, while the Oilers took out the Dallas Stars in 6 games in Edmonton over the weekend. So, James, Connor McDavid and his legacy against the back-to-back defending Eastern Conference champion Florida Panthers, who are right now, James, this is always talked about, my man, though, every year in the postseason. It's all about goaltending. And right now, the Panthers have been riding the Sergei Bobrovsky wave from round 1 through round 2 over the Bruins into round 3 and knocking out the President's Trophy winning Rangers into the Cup final. On the flip side, it's the Edmonton Oilers, of course, with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard. However, though, James, their goaltending has been a little bit spotty throughout these 3 rounds, though. Again, we actually saw, and remember, Stuart Skinner, their starter, got benched for Calvin Pickard in back-to-back games in round 2 against Vancouver, and he kind of took that on the chin, and he really has played well since. I know, James, I was going for New York, though, because it was like that 30 years of them not winning the title. Feel like it was their year, though, with them winning the President's Trophy. But now, James, I'm even more torn here again. It's Connor McDavid and his Oilers trying to bring the cup back home to Canada for the first time since the 93 season, while this very intriguing, this very physical, grinding Paul Maurice-led Florida Panthers team, riding that hot goaltender in Sergei Bobrovsky, looking to finally win the title for in their third trip to the Cup final. So, James, your thoughts about this series, man, because I think this is going to be a very, very entertaining series. So, again, high-octane offense in Edmonton, great physical play and goaltending in Florida. You can't really ask for anything other than a series like this between Edmonton and Florida.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the Panthers. It started with Game 1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the tenacity and
Really
the
setting the tone against the
physicality.
Rangers.
The
They set the tone.
physicality was there. Yeah, I was kind of shocked because you thought the Rangers were about that, but no, it started in Game 1, and one thing I noticed too, both teams are really good on the road.
Yes.
It's really a thing. Yeah, I know Stuart Skinner, which I love that name. I think he'll give up more than Brovsky will. The Panthers, they made it last year. They lost to Vegas. I think they're on a mission, and they've kind of been not really talked about either. It was all about the drama in Edmonton with the coach getting fired and them being better. And you have other glorious teams that are out there that may have more eyes on them than Florida.
Bruins, the Rangers, Toronto.
Yeah, and now Florida just saying, okay, we accepted our spot, and we're just going to make it again, but we're going to make you feel us. We're going to make you know us. If you didn't last year, we're going to win it all this year. I'm going to say Panthers in 6. Even though I really want the Oilers, though, because like you said, it's been a while. And they have those 3 scoring stars, and I really want McDavid to get it because that would kind of validate him, just like we were talking about the NBA with Tatum and with Luka and Jaylen Brown. I think he's in that same spot just because of where he was drafted too. I can think of 2019. I was at a Kings game versus the Oilers. That's the only Oiler I knew. That's the only Oiler I heard about, and he scored a goal that night. So I think that would be validation for him, but I just feel like goaltending not being tough enough. With the Oilers maybe being more finesse. They might have those, frantic, goal scorers rapid, but I think the Panthers are just more fluid. They're more together. They showed that getting to the finals last year, beating Boston, who everybody thought they would make it last year. I gotta go Panthers in 6. I'm really intrigued by these finals we have in both sports. I really am. So
no, absolutely, same here. And I think I'll have to take the flip side, James, and go with Edmonton also in 6 games. Though I love to see them win it at home, though. But Game 6 would be in Sunrise, Florida. My only concern, though, James, would be that Chris Knobloch, the guy who took over for Jay Woodcroft earlier in the season, did, I think, begin to stoke the fire at his media availability on Tuesday, comparing the Panthers to the Buffalo Bills, saying, they have the experience of getting there, but where is the trophy in the trophy case in a roundabout way? And I saw them as like, what in a way are you doing? Like, you really have just given Florida, whiteboard material for, as you said, James, a team who really has kind of been under the radar, even though that, you got to the finals last year, but you lost to Vegas. But that quote right there, kind of in a way, like, irked me the wrong way. Like, why? Like, you just reacted. Like, why would you say that about a team going to their 3rd Cup final appearance in club history and going back for a 2nd year in a row, though? But more importantly, James, I think the reason why I agree with you about Florida, about your pick of Florida winning it, they're healthy this year. Kachuk's not dealing with the broken sternum. Guys aren't out with, ankles or, broken hands, as was the case a bit last season, but certainly I still like Edmonton, but I did not, though, think that Chris Knobloch should have said what he said, though, about adding some fuel to the fire about, comparing the Panthers to the 1990 era Buffalo Bills.
That's the reason why I love hockey, though. Just with the sound bites of certain coaches, it's amazing. Damn, the name is going away from me. The man who's in Columbus is always fiery.
Mike Babcock, who used to be in Columbus?
No. Well, yeah, that guy's really crazy, too. I love his accent, by the way. No, the other dude, he has a goatee. he was called the media out always at his press conferences.
Oh, John Tortorella.
Yeah, Tortorelli.
He's now the head coach of the Flyers.
Damn. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I don't know where people are, but I've heard of them before. Trust me that.
Yes.
So I think hockey has the most boisterous sound bites, and it always comes back to bite you in some way. And maybe it's just Knobloch just showing where, oh, there's a reason why you haven't been a head coach before. Maybe this is why. Maybe this is why you won't be considered being a head coach going forward. Imagine if the Oilers get swept from the bulletin board material that has been put on by Knobloch
and
for
just
Florida.
imagine the headlines in the Edmonton Daily newspaper and on local TV and radio if that happens. Holy cow.
That is going to be something. But, yeah, I think it's going to be Panthers in 6. They'll be tougher. They'll get more saves, more shots on goal. But Vlasky has been great. That's one guy I've learned his name. He's not a classical tenor guy. No, he's an actual goalie. Yeah, I'm gonna go Panthers in 6. I think that would do wonders for Sunrise, Florida, and the surrounding areas.
And all the non-traditional hockey markets out there, like Southern California, for example.
Vegas winning last year, getting to the final in the first year. Now we got to see, Seattle can do it, but this would be a big step for, Southern hockey. I hope if Florida wins.
Yeah, and I'm going with Edmonton for the storyline of Connor McDavid. I think a lot of people, and I know that ESPN Bet, if you are someone responsibly wagering on sports, that ESPN Bet had Florida at minus 125 as the favorite to win it all, even before, the Knobloch comics or the coach comments came out on Tuesday about Edmonton's head coach, Chris Knobloch, comparing the Panthers to the 1990s era Buffalo Bills. But I will still, though, James, ride with the Oilers. But regardless of who wins, Adam Henrique, Sam Carrick, Brandon Montour of Florida, and Henrique and Carrick playing in Edmonton, along with Josh Mahura and Anthony Stolarz in Florida with Montour, there's 5 former San Diego Gulls, or for that matter, Anaheim Duck players who will get a ring this season, along with Corey Perry, who, by the way, Corey Perry becomes the first player ever to go to the Cup final with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 different franchises in his career, and all within the last 5 years. And he is on the Edmonton Oilers alongside Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick for the Anaheim and San Diego hockey fans out there. But I think, James, though, that it's time that McDavid cashes in. Like, if they're again, the Celtics and Oilers for me they're in the same boat. If there's ever a time for Edmonton to win the Stanley Cup and the Celtics win the NBA title, 2024 is your chance, because we have, loved watching these guys play, but it's hard to talk about them sometimes because they just don't have that trophy in the trophy case, and I definitely, though, James, am also, and I also back your thoughts, though, about why you pick Florida, because if that title is won by the Panthers, that, again, though, just really helps a non-traditional hockey market grow the game, and this is the 5th year in a row that a Florida-based franchise, either the Lightning or the Panthers, have made the Stanley Cup final as the Eastern Conference representative. And obviously, if the Oilers win, the Canadian curse of 93 is finally broken and put into the gray finally. It's going to be a great series, though, folks. Stanley Cup Finals, Oilers and Panthers, Edmonton versus Florida, will take place beginning on Saturday at Amerant Bank Arena down in Sunrise, Florida. Games 1 and 2, 5 and 7 in Florida. Games 3, 4, and 6 up at Rogers Arena up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Which also, a quick little cool nugget, this becomes the longest travel for a Stanley Cup Final series in history, by flight time and by mileage between Edmonton and Sunrise, Florida.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. Jeez.
Yes. I mean, if you want to talk about airline expenses and airline miles, look at the Stanley Cup final.
I didn't even think about that because, I never really think of the providences of, Canada, but it's widespread. Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about Florida and Western Canada for the upcoming Stanley Cup finals on Saturday. But definitely, James, I think that both these series are going to be great, both the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. Uh, Again, I think Edmonton, though, just has a little bit more. But, though, James, I will tell you right now, if the Panthers win it all, Sergei Bobrovsky for Conn Smythe, for the Conn Smythe Trophy for playoff MVP, without a doubt.
I'm down with that.
So again, folks, Oilers and Panthers kicking off the Stanley Cup Finals on Saturday down in Sunrise, Florida, because the Panthers, I believe, have home ice by being I think they may have been, I think they both were number twos, but I think the Panthers had more points in the standings over the Oilers in the regular season standings. With that, James, in college athletics, my friend, the College World Series on the women's side will feature OU in Texas. It was a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal game 3 earlier on Tuesday between the Florida Gators and the Oklahoma Sooners. Unbelievable game, James. And I tell you, man, Oklahoma softball getting hot at the right time. They lose game 1, win game 2, then win in a extra inning today, 6-5 over Florida on a walk-off solo homer after the starting pitcher for Florida win 151 total pitches in that
What?
game for the Gators. But the Sooners will go for a four-peat against the arch rival Texas Longhorns starting on Wednesday in Oklahoma City. James, this has been, I think, though, James, every year, though, I love the College World Series for baseball and for women's softball. But I think, though, James, that this season, though, man, has been such a great year for the softball side of things, though, my man, with how we had so many upsets leading up to Oklahoma City, Stanford, and UCLA were
Mm-hmm.
playing for the right to get to the tournament or into the big dance as well. But now, James, we're down to 2, and it's the good old-fashioned Red River rivalry, OU in Texas, the Sooners and Patty Gasco going for a four-peat of national championships while the rival Texas Longhorns, who, by the way, Texas is the number 1 overall seed, will be home team in game 1. So, James, unreal, man, that we have a team going for a four-peat now in women's college softball.
Last week I watched a little of it, and I was thinking, man, the Gators look like they might, win it all, but they ran into the Sooners, and they made everybody say, hey, I remember them the last 3 years. They're undeniable. They had that walk-off, like you mentioned, the home run. They're trying to do it again for Jada Coleman. She's already been a national champion, a junior women's national team champion for the USA. So they're trying to win it again for her. I mean, that would be amazing to win all the years, that you've played if she did. That would be amazing. We never see a four-peat for anything anymore, unless it's like high school sports. You never see it, in college. Definitely not in the pros. So that'd be amazing if that happened just for that. Texas, they want to get in their way. This is always a good rivalry in other sports, but it's good that it's shown its heads here in college softball. It's best of 3, I see, and I like that, though. It gets right down to the point. It's not a long series. It's literally win or go home, win or do or die tomorrow for the team that loses game 1. I really like that about, college baseball and college softball.
Same.
And I know it was like that, in the NBA and the MLB back in the 80s. And then money and greed kind of kept series going to 5
Television.
7 and more eyes on the TV. But this is like the most purest, kind of softball or baseball you'll find is these two matchups here. To be honest, I don't even know who's in the or they haven't got there yet for the men's, but I'm gonna go with the Sooners. I think they're definitely favored. They have the pedigree. They know how to win. They will rally around each other. Um, I'll definitely. Ooh, it's at 5 o'clock. I'll try to get home in time to see some of that. Thursday, I don't know if I'll see some of that, but if we get to game 3, definitely I'll be watching on Friday. I really wanted to go to game 3. You can see Texas, maybe tying the series. Oklahoma loses game 1, and they have a furious comeback to force a pivotal, do or die game 3. I think I'm gonna say Oklahoma wins in 3. I think we're gonna get a whole series here.
Yeah, I want a whole series, and I want the four-peat to happen. I think, James, last time we had a four-peat in college athletics had to have been UConn women's basketball
Yeah.
up until 2016. Again, Breanna Stewart was a four-time national champion, winning one in her freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and her senior year. And since then, UConn hasn't won a title since 2016 in women's college basketball. But certainly, though, James, one does wonder, though, with this four-peat, if Patty Gaskell, the head coach, may in fact call it quits after the year is over. I know that I think last year she even kind of was pondering it because, I've got grandkids now, want more time with the family. But I think, though, James, just the winning and what she has meant to the sport, though, I think is kind of just keeping Patty around, though, and coaching at OU.
Yeah, man, to go out on top, but 4 straight times, but to literally go out on top, that'd be amazing. And it, like you said, it only happens in college where someone 4-peats or 3-peats. It never really happens in professional sports anymore because of the free agency or greed or whatever the case is. Whew, this is going to be fun. We are in a blessed time right now where championships are at stake, and you got to watch all 3 or 4 of the series going on. You have to. If you have a day off like I will in a couple of days, I'm going to definitely pay attention to all of this. It's winning time.
It is winning time again, folks. We're in the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, Women's College World Series Finals. We are now inching closer to the Baseball Super Regionals coming up this weekend as the teams travel to their next destinations. But certainly Oklahoma softball versus Texas, number 1 versus number 2. Will play game 1 of the Women's College World Series National Title Series on Wednesday from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I think, though, James, more importantly, though, if Oklahoma wins, though, man, and goes 4 in a row, that really should prove to people how tough it is in any sport. Repeating's one thing, James, but 3 or 4 straight championships, that really puts in perspective, man, how tough it is to do it regardless of what level it is.
And it'll put him in a legacy just like that UConn women's team. It'll put him right there where when you think about women's or when you think about college softball, automatically everybody's going to want to go there. If they're recruiting out of high school, they want to go to Oklahoma. They want to be a part of something. If they see them winning every year, I want to be a part of that. You saw that in the 2000s with UConn and years after that, where they just kept building different teams. It was the same coach, but they had the same type of team. I think even if the coach retires, they'll still have that winning tradition, and that's just something you don't see nowadays just because of changes. So I can't wait to see that.
One quick sidebar, folks, in college athletics that was also broken on Tuesday. Speaking of the UConn women's basketball team, Gino Auriemma, 5-year extension.
The hell? Wow.
Gino will be coaching his 40th season of UConn women's hoops this upcoming year in 24-25 and just got paid with a 5-year extension before he probably will more than likely call it quits after that 5-year contract does run down. And I think, though, what's cool, though, James, is that UConn on the women's basketball social channels, they're kind of chronicling Gino's time at UConn. And I think that they they did a special with Gino on Instagram, I think. Excuse me. That they literally put out a video of them taking Gino back to the place 40 years ago when he was interviewed for the job. It was at some like donut shop, I think, or some off-campus restaurant where he was offered the position 40 years ago. So again, sidebar away from softball, folks, but again, legendary UConn women's basketball coach Gino Auriemma, per reports, has signed a 5-year extension to stay the UConn women's basketball coach for the next 5 years following the upcoming 2024-25 season. All right, James, we'll wrap things up for the night, man, by going off the board. One topic not discussed in the program tonight that you would like to get off your chest or talk about, James. What do you got going off the board tonight for this Tuesday night?
Let me ask you something. With all the pitching injuries that are going on with Ebos and all that, and Tommy John and years lost, do you think now someone will pick up Trevor Bauer? I don't think so, but if a team is desperate enough, I think they'll do it. Maybe in a month from now. But you got to figure Baltimore is out there, and the Yankees, of course.
San Diego.
With those two pitchers on the DL on Saturday, I think it was announced. You have to think someone will eventually pick up Trevor Bauer. I don't think anyone will be ballsy enough to. But that's what I'm wondering, Callan. Will anybody pick up Trevor Bauer?
Eventually, I think that the shoe will fall and Trevor Bauer will be signed by a major league franchise. Now, the legal stuff, all that, we're not going to get into. But we know, though, James, that he has been severely blackballed by the media, blackballed by all 30 clubs in some roundabout way. But at the end of the day, though, one has to wonder that shoe is going to drop eventually, that there's going to be a team who is borderline desperate. But I think, though, James, they might be willing to accept the criticism of, hey, why are you doing this? Like, again, we're putting the off the field stuff away. Like, we need a pitcher to come in here and give us innings and shore up our rotation. But again, James, to your point, though, it's more along the lines of, will a team actually be willing to sacrifice, potentially, female fan demographics by signing Trevor Bauer, this and, again, all that Pandora's box, though. But I do agree, though, that eventually I think that someone will roll the dice and take it. But I think, though, James, you have to make this contract a incentive-based deal. Like, he can sign for league minimum, but you have to put in clauses of, okay, once you sign, you're off social media. You are going to be confined to only going to and from the ballpark and heading home. Nothing like that. And also, I think you have to make it incentives as well of, like, if you give me X amount of innings or X amount of quality starts, we'll bump up your pay. But one screw up in any way, shape, form, or size on the web or in your or away from the team at your home or any of that away from the organization, you're done. And I think that's all you can do, though, is I know that we're all big on second chances, James. I know it's been a long road for him to get that second chance, though, but I think that a team will do it, but the contract will probably be laden with all these clauses of, hey, get off social media, stop having your agent talk for you on the web, cut the cord and focus on pitching for our organization. And if you maybe can perform well, we'll give you a $5,000 incentive if you get past, 5 quality starts. We'll keep bumping it up, though. But if you screw up one time, whether it's big or small, you're done. And I don't know, James, if that is the right way to go about it. But at the end of the day, though, I think it's the only way that you really can, I think, go about it with Trevor Bauer at this rate.
No, that's understandable because you are making a move that others won't. You are putting your PR staff in jeopardy. You're putting yourself in jeopardy, your organization, the appearance of it, the face of it, and you're taking a big risk for possibly a big reward. But yeah, just because of what has happened in the past, obviously there has to be limitations on things. You know, I don't mind though. I don't mind that he does the vlogging or whatever. I never cared that he did that. I actually watched it, up until he was what happened with him with the Dodgers. I was watching it. I was actually intrigued, especially in 2020, because of all the
COVID parameters in place.
yeah, I really enjoyed. Well, there was nothing to enjoy about all that, but I was really intrigued watching that weekly vlog or whatever it was, of him going through all the parameters and saying what you can and can't do, what he eats. I think that's just the future of the game. So I don't mind that. It actually helps get more eyes on your team. You've seen it with the Angels. Once Ohtani left, there's not as many fans. So I don't mind that he's on social media. Just don't get into any Twitter beefs. Just
That
don't.
was more along the lines of what I was saying is that don't be flapping your gums. Like, you've already done enough of that as is about begging for a job, basically, when you've been throwing in Mexico City for the Diablos Rojos down there. Like, I was more of like, don't be twiddling your thumbs. Do the vlog, but don't be out here twiddling your thumbs because you're only going to, make it easier for us to release you from your contract.
And I'm fine with that, Callan.
Yeah, and I think, though, James, eventually that, it's hard, though, to gauge, like, if it will actually happen. But I think, though, if it does happen, James, that becomes, I think, another smokescreen of like, don't worry about Ohtani. Hey, Trevor Bauer's back in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
You go
Maybe
from one problem child to another one with Trevor Bauer signing to, again, kind of in a way, get everyone's attention off of Shohei Ohtani and IP Mizuhara.
And not to really bring up Tatis Jr., but what if there's like a young superstar like Ellie De La Cruz, or I'm just lost on another one because he's like the biggest star there is out there. Like, what if he has a PED suspension? That's going to be another smokescreen.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I also kind of feel like, James, that the other smokescreen would be what happens with Wander Franco.
Oh, God.
That's
what has happened with him?
That one,
he got kidnapped?
But, James, to your point, though, that's also kind of become put, like a sidebar of like,
yeah,
don't worry about Ohtani. Wander Franco's out there somewhere. Trevor Bauer may sign somewhere eventually. But all these is to try to, again, kind of in a way, put this curtain up. Like, don't worry about Ohtani. Here's Tucupita Marcano getting banned for life from baseball. Here is this. Here is that. It's a lot like Chick Hearn saying they're playing Matador defense back in the day on television or on the radio.
I love that. Yeah, it's just funny. I haven't heard that name in a while, and I was scared to Google it. But yeah, 2 days ago, he's still on administrative leave until July 14th, and then we'll see what happens with Wander Franco.
I think I heard that the league will probably, if they haven't already, extend that admin leave for probably the whole season.
You bet that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many smoke and mirrors out there. That Major League Baseball is a lot like the Titanic. Like, it's already hit the iceberg. It's slowly sinking. The band is still playing. People are jumping off the stern and getting hit by the propellers into the water. Like you want to look away at it, but you still want to look at it. Like, it's literally how baseball is right now between the three gambling scandals and, James, you even said, though, about the epidemic right now of pitchers getting injured. Again, I think back to how they, Cleveland lost Shane Bieber back in early April, and the Mets lost Spencer Strider back in early April, and the Padres have lost Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove not once but twice in a matter of a couple of days to growing issues and a repeat of Joe's elbow bothering him, where they had to, bring up Randy Vasquez to throw on Saturday in Kansas City. And on Tuesday night up in Anaheim, they had Adam Mazur, a number 5 prospect, make his debut. threw well for his first game. The Padres still lost 4-2 to the Angels, but at the end of the day, though, I don't know what can be done. But certainly, James, I think you're right, though, that some team will have to bite the bullet out there and just kind of, take one for the league and just bring Bauer back for at least the year. Like, I think he's done enough to stay in shape. I think he's done enough to, publicly clear his name. Again, the court of law did not find him guilty of any charges. The charges were like kind of in a way fraudulent charges brought upon by the women who were accusing him of what was accused. But at the end of the day, though, James, I still think, though, that it would be a bit of a PR train wreck, though, if in fact that he signs, because you could have, the fan backlash from fans. Why are you doing this? Like, we get it's a second chance, but still, like, there's a lot of just smoke and mirrors right now with that whole story.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I was thinking about that the other day and how he's done well down there. I know he had a bad start at first, but he's just out there. I don't know if anybody wants him, though.
Yeah, I just think it'll take that one team to be bold enough to kind of in a way bring him in and say, okay, sign the contract, but it's going to be incentive later, and you can't be out here twiddling your thumbs on social. Do the vlog, but you can't be talking to fans in any shape, way, form, or size on the web via tweets or via IG DMs or any of that sort of stuff. James, going off the board real quick here, wanted to give a major shout out to the University of San Diego Toreros. My longtime great friend Brock Ungrich, who's the head coach, and the Toreros winning over 40 games this year in the baseball season, winning the West Coast Conference regular season and tournament championship, but were bounced out by Oregon and UCSB in the regional, but getting back to a regional tournament again, and really just a banner year for the Toreros this season at USD, once more winning both conference titles, I should say, regular season, and also the postseason tournament this year as well. And again, they just had a stellar season. And again, they really got the city behind them here. So much great media coverage from the local newspaper, local news stations out here. And certainly great seeing USD baseball having another stellar season this year. And, again, a team really loaded, James, on local talent here in San Diego.
I did see that last game against UCSB. It was part of that 5-window coverage on ESPN on Sunday, I think it was. I was watching UC Irvine very attentively. I think they were ousted as well, I want to say. I forgot because I forgot all about it.
So much going on.
Yeah. But yeah, anytime the Southern California teams and San Diego teams are in it, I'm watching it if I can. And what I noticed about them, they really stand out. Their uniforms, that baby blue or whatever, those really stand out for San Diego. It was amazing. I did like for Santa Barbara, they had the old school SB hat. That was really cool to see in the colors of the Gauchos. Always good, though, when you can keep homegrown talent home.
Absolutely.
It was always a beef with me and USC and UCLA, how James Harden was able to go to Arizona State, and other guys to Arizona for basketball years ago.
Or Stanford or some other big-name university.
I always hated that because I'm thinking we have like so many great players around here, and look at Kawhi State, at San Diego State. That's good to hear, though. It also puts them in like the bigger spotlight of the city over the Aztecs for that. I'm dying to get to a game at Cunningham. I really want to. Hopefully next season I will eventually. See how the schedule is now, but it just shows you there's more than MLB going on. And again, it's a fun time. And if your school's in it or your employer or whatever, that's also a great time because everybody's into it. Everybody's rocking and rolling with it. And it's just unfortunate they couldn't make it all the way. But to win 40 games in a season, that's pretty good, I think, for college baseball. To win your conference, that was also big too.
Yeah, I mean, USD had a stretch where they had swept like consecutive conference series, and there was also a stretch, James. They went 27-3 over a 30-game span. But also, though, and I give Brock a lot of credit, though, James, he stacked up this schedule with, powerhouse baseball programs. They opened up at Texas this year. Then they opened up at home with Arizona. Then they went and played Michigan in LA, and they played a 3-game set in Ann Arbor. They went to Dallas Baptist University this year. Like, they really played notable college World Series late in programs this year. Like, they didn't play a bunch of cream puffs and, all that sort of stuff, James. I mean, they were loading up on UC Irvines of the world. And, obviously, the conference was really strong this year between USD and Portland and St. Mary's and Gonzaga, Santa Clara and Pepperdine, who all made the tournament field of the 9 schools in the conference at the time. But they really, packed that schedule for RPI and for ranking reasons, and they went, I think their final record was like 42-15, I believe. Maybe one tie was in there. But they literally, though, James, had a 30-game stretch of going 27-3. But more importantly, though, James, and Brock told this, I believe, to the local NBC station here, that team was proud, though, of how they kept a lot of the local kids here, like you were saying, though. Notably, Jacob Christian. I got to announce Jacob when he was at Point Loma Nazarene his first 2 years. Then he transferred to USD. James, he was 2 homers shy of his D2 total from last year. He had 28 at Point Loma last season. How about 26 homers at USD this season? Then they also got Austin Smith, who was at UCSD. He transferred over, and he was like the bona fide 3 or 4 hitter all season. I think their top 4 hitters in the whole regional, their first 4 guys were all San Diego kids from St. Augustine High, portal transfers from either, UCSD, Point Loma Naz, other schools in the area. Like they were proud, though, of keeping those kids in town. And more importantly, though, James, and it's a very true point, though, Brock brought up their uniforms, like you said, though, but all their uniforms say San Diego. They don't say Toreros on any of them. They all say San Diego. And Brock said that is a badge of honor to be able to represent the whole city on that stage, though. And they had great fan support up in Santa Barbara this past week.
I did notice that there was a little, baby blue spot up there during that regional there. I was also amazed. I think, some UC Irvine Anteater fans made it up to Corvallis. I was kind of shocked by that too. And I saw Louisiana defeat, I want to say
Texas.
Yeah, Texas. And there was a lot of Louisiana fans there, the Cajuns. There was a lot of fans there. So that was great how it's a perfect time to travel right now. If your school is ending for kids, you can bring them along and really, get to experience that. I just love this time of year for baseball.
Yeah, best time of the year. Again, you're getting to the nitty-gritty of the College World Series with the Super Regionals. Women's softball is now going to the National Title Series starting Wednesday. Then, of course, MLB is right in the middle of their June swing right now at this rate and point in time. With that, though, James, time to close up shop for the night on this Tuesday, my friend. Final thoughts for the night's program are what?
Great show as always. And it's funny, I saw this picture of the Crosstown Classic tonight at Wrigley Field where the lower bowl was empty. And I thought it was like COVID, a picture from the COVID season, but no. They had lightning storms in the area, and they had to evacuate the lower level of Wrigley Field. So everybody was underneath and away from the dugouts because they were fearing the lightning strikes. So it just looked funny. Yaga was there, ready to pitch against the White Sox, and it was empty behind him, Wrigley. So that was a shocker today. So that was fun. And it's always fun doing a show with you. And thank you, Christy, for joining in.
Yeah, major thanks to Christy Wilson, Jack Braun, and to a new subscriber, Saad Khan, who also wrote in earlier tonight. Sorry, Saad, for missing your comment earlier tonight. My apologies for that. Folks, as a reminder, once more, again, Puck and Roll had their first official guest interview back on May 25th. You can check out my 10-minute interview with the Elite Draft League founder, Josh Fontaine, from League Trout Day back in late May on the Coast to Coast Facebook and YouTube channels. Again, we're going to be having Puck and Roll's first official episode sometime either on June 20th or June 21st, barring our scheduling for our kind of our practice day, basically, for the opening night of the league, but also we're working on getting some of the sponsors. I can confirm real quick that we had our league partner, Biscuit Balm, which is a hockey stick wax company, who reshared the advertisement I put out for Puck and Roll's debut. So they will be one of our founding members of the podcast coming up in a couple of weeks. But again, if you missed out on the Josh Fontaine 10-minute sit-down audio-only interview, again, it's on the C2C Facebook and YouTube channels. Again, folks, we will be covering the Elite Draft League, again, a brand-new men's roller hockey league here in San Diego County, starting up shop with our first official game days of the season on June 22nd up in Escondido, California. And Jack actually says, Callan, love the interview. Very well done and very professional. Thank you, Jack, very much for checking that out. Again, folks, you can check out that interview with Josh and myself, again, on the Coast to Coast Facebook and YouTube channels. Again, once more, again, we're trying our best to make this league a very professional run product, again, between our in-game entertainment and also, of course, with the podcast Puck and Roll coming your way, again, starting right now around June 21st, before we have our first official date of the season on June 22nd. So keep your eyes peeled for more content, though, coming your way from that interview with Josh, and also more from Puck and Roll over the course of the summer. Also, James, real quick, kind of going off the board as well, though, but today, though, my man began the Little League Baseball season for me kicked off today. Again, I do a lot of summer work with the youth Little Leagues here in San Diego County, down in the South Bay, which is down in Chula Vista, in Section 42. And James, there's nothing better for me, man, than to show up and give, and I forget what age group I'm working this week, though, but I get to work like the kids who are like first year, second year on the with kids pitching. There is nothing that brings me more joy, James, than going to a game and working for those kids and for those youth leagues and those in the little leagues, and giving them a professionally run product, but just the smiles on the kids' faces, win or lose. They just love being out there, man, and playing the game. That's what makes my summers so much fun, honestly.
It makes you wonder, all these MLB players and, they all play Little League, but money and fame and fortune is kind of, taking that joy away of not really caring about all that, but just playing the game and having fun. So it must be a joy, I can imagine, sitting through that. However many hours, you don't care. You're just there for that.
Yeah, you don't.
No, so that's a admirable thing to really talk about and do. Imagine the umpires too, standing in that heat the whole day. Some care to be there and some realizing why they're there, and they feel that sentiment too, just like you do. So that's all great.
So again, it's going to be a great week and a great summer between Puck and Roll and also between Little League Baseball this year, and also between the fact that the Elite Draft League will start operation on June 22nd here in San Diego, California. And James, I hope, and I hope, but I also kind of expect to see you out at a couple of EDL games this summer, because, man, we're going to be going to a really shameless plug. We're going to a really great taco bar restaurant called Craft Coast, which is the official restaurant of our league in San Marcos, my man. James, yeah, I'm telling you, I don't mean to make you hungry near the midnight hour, my man, but I'll tell you what, we went there for the draft after tryouts. I about ate like 6 of their al pastor tacos, dude. I think you will fall in love with that restaurant if and when you come and watch some EDL games this summer.
I got to do it. Remind me, man. I got to do it.
I mean, I'm literally talking, James, like humongous chunks of grilled pineapple with the al pastor in the tacos.
Yeah, man, never tried that before. That sounds really interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I don't mean to make you folks hungry, but that's one of the other partners of the Elite Draft League is a place here in San Diego called Craft Coast. They have got some really great food, and they are a proud partner of the Elite Draft League. But we're not going to make your stomach scramble, folks. We're going to get out of here for the night. Again, folks, once more is a very, again, just wanted to put it out here again as one small reminder. But again, folks, due to, again, the nature right now of Adam Barber and his family right now, we are still holding out hope to get the schedule for programming kind of back in working order. So we may, in fact, we may or may not be here again for some shows this week. Again, you can count on seeing James and Randy and Crispy Bacon on Friday for Entertainment Hour and on Sunday for On Deck. But again, right now, our Wednesday and Thursday schedules, folks, are still kind of in a way up in the air right now. And now with me getting slammed with work with Little League right now, it'll be a little bit tough for me to come home from being down in Chula Vista, which is about half an hour south of where I live in the city, getting here in time to host the programs for Adam in the meantime. So again, folks, just keep your eyes peeled on our social channels for updates regarding the schedule for programs. But again, we will leave you folks here for the night, and we'll see you folks back here hopefully on Wednesday. For James Gonzales and the entire Coast to Coast cast and crew, yours truly, Callan McClurg, saying good night here from Southern California. Again, folks, we hope to see you tomorrow or on Thursday. If not, catch James and the fellows on Entertainment Hour on Friday. Folks, till next time, have a good one, and thanks for being here. Good night. Bye-bye.